Legends, I am giving away 2 copies of Dragonflight. It is only available to NA and Oceanic users, unfortunately, no EU gifters. One winner is going to be picked from the comments section on YouTube, and the other one is going to be given away via Discord. So to give yourself the best chance, make sure you comment on the videos, make sure you come and jump in the Discord. Super secret DK Tech Crit! Our best defensive stats. Fucking shivers. Shivers me timbers with that one. Alright. Take 1. I just got up from night shift. I haven't even finished my coffee yet. Look. It's still in there. Hey legends, what's up? It's Darkmech here, and in today's video we're talking crit. I am the crit commander. So, if you've been playing a Blood DK over the last few years, you will have heard the terms haste and versatility thrown around all the time. But what if there was actually a better way and this wasn't the best play? What if there was a build that could generate so much avoidance via crit and other abilities at our disposal that you could become nearly unhittable? Well, the dynamic trio of Meyra, Mandl, and Acer set out on such a mission, and they actually managed to find something. It was a case of up, down, left, right, BA, and the parry DK machine was born. This build completely changes the way that crit has been viewed by the community and could land crit as one of the best defensive stats due to the amount of parry that we can achieve with Dancing Rune Weapon in Mythic Plus environments. And so far, hardly anyone is onto it or willing to listen. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you through how this build works, the premises behind it, the Covenant impacts on it, gearing. I'm going to show you all the proof for this via logs as to what this build can do. So strap in. It's going to take a look. I don't like that. Why are you strapping people in? Stop strapping people in. So let's start off with the foundation of where this canoe has been built and what we know. So Dancing Rune Weapon provides 40% parry and it's additive. The game will one roll all the following: hit, dodge, miss, parry when you engage a mob. The main drivers to parry are strength and crit. It's 138 strength to 1% parry, and crit is 100% of crit rating converted to parry rating, which is 39 parry to 1%. There is also a 3% miss chance on everything from mob. However, to expand this out, mobs that are level 61 have a 1.5% chance, and mobs that are level 62 have a 0% chance. But 90% of the Mythic Plus trash you are fighting is your level, so you most of the time have that 3% miss chance to factor in. Keeping all this in mind, the current tools available to Blood DK, what could be done to further reduce external healing required per second that isn't just the old slap it on with versatility? And that is exactly what Mandl, Meyra, and Acer set out to work on. Let's talk about the process. So Covenant selection and its impact. We have 4 Covenants at our disposal in Shadowlands, each bringing its own flavour to the toolkit, rotation and spec. The most popular has been Kyrian since the inception of the 4-piece, and one that was often thrown around a little in Season 3 and has raised its head again recently in TGP was Night Fae. Now Night Fae has a bit of an echo chamber going on, being called the best option for EHP. But what if there was a better utilization of Night Fae that hadn't really been considered? Let's talk about Night Fae. Now to be extremely clear at the start here, I am not making this video and telling everyone watching to instantly go out and switch to Night Fae and try and copy what we're about to cover off in the video. However, the reality of it is, Night Fae is the biggest Covenant investment you can make in gaining more parry towards this type of build. Why? Because one of the main drivers to parry is strength, and Night Fae provides you with plenty of this via Death's Due. But you should know that Night Fae is extremely punishing around bad play. Now Night Fae does however get easier to manage at higher stacks of the haste bounty in Mythic Plus, but the hardest part of a key as Night Fae is not the end of it when you're sitting at 10 to 12 stacks of the haste bounty. It's the start of the key, and at low haste levels, this is where the mechanical execution of Night Fae gets exposed on players and has the ability to slap you in the nutsack. Now to show you an example of how this looks, this is a graph of a 5-minute pure single target sim at different haste ratings for both Night Fae and Kyrian with 0 twerks. Now the difference here isn't massive, but you need to remember that Kyrian will get an extra rune per target in pulls and the bonus CDR from Shackle. So on AoE, things look a lot sharper. Kyrian is also just easier to play. The more mobs you engage, the more shackles you get, the more damage you do, and the more runes you get to maintain Dancing Rune Weapon. As Kyrian, you will miss out on some strength and around 1 to 2% parry, but remember, this is just a pure single target sim example with zero twerking or any other factors. You can see from this the lower hasted differences between the two and the gap that closes towards what we'll call the end of the key, as it would as you gain more haste bounties. It's also worth mentioning that Necro, Kyrian, and Night Fate all actually function really well with this crit build. Marileth works really well and covers some weaknesses as well as providing great damage. Night Fate, as mentioned, gives you higher strength and parry, but it punishes bad performance. And Kyrian is just the easiest to maintain your Dancing Rune Weapon at the cost of some parry and some strength. Duratials matter. So, Night Elf, we're going to talk about this. Now again, this isn't a call to all players watching this video to go and switch to Night Elf straight away if you ever want to time a key again. This is just a nice bonus if you're perhaps serious around key pushing and try to optimize this build, or a nice bonus if you're just already a Night Elf. Night Elf has 2% dodge, and this 2% dodge is additive and can actually end up being a lot more than 2% in effective damage reduction. So that was one of the considerations that was made. Let's talk about gearing through this now. So what kind of gear do you need to make this all work? Now the basis of all this is that no stats are actually bad for Blood DK. You still want to take your item level over stats, outside crazy pieces like trinkets and things like that. But even 20 to 25% crit is enough where you will see some impact from this build, and it just ramps to the Moonlight BitConnect from here. A very large underpinning point to this build and this video is to remove the idea that crit is a bad stat for Blood DK. It's also important to remember with gear that strength is just a bigger deal for parry as crit is, so item level is going to win out in most cases due to the extra strength gains. So what would a BIS set look like? On the screen right now is a set from the tournament realm, and this is basically the absolute BIS that you could hope to obtain to use in this build. However, it's important to note you do not need all of this BIS gear on the screen right now for this build to work. As I just mentioned, 20 to 25% crit is a very solid starting point that you will see benefit from around this build, and you can still manage to get around the 80% avoidance mark with. I do want to cover off some of this gear though, and also use it as a chance to address some of the questions flying around the community at the moment. I'm going to start off with the Adonai's deflectors. These are the Mechagon braces. Now these braces are a bonus item that if you have, you can use in this build to boost early parry rating if you have fears about surviving going into a pull and a pack. Using this though will put Gavel on a 20-second CD, and the same goes for using Gavel, it'll put these on a 20-second CD. It's not an oh my god factor, it's just something that's worth mentioning. It's also worth mentioning, don't feel as though you need these braces, but they are certainly a nice boost to your parry rating that you can use at the opening of a pull if you have them. The Mechagon Rings. So a particular piece that I want to talk about are the rings. So for one, they hold a really decent amount of crit on them, and the haste effect is absolutely insane. And people are still asking, do I want to farm the Mechagon Ring set, or do I want something and the Seal of Darkshire Nobility? Now the Seal of Darkshire Nobility is a 10% DR for 4 seconds when engaging a new enemy, and I can get where people look at this and think, well, that must be really good. The issue is, it's kind of being oversold when the Mecha Rings are sitting right there. And there's no real consideration, I don't think, in regards to what you're giving up. So number one, we go through this, you'll rune tap when you move into a new pull anyway. So that straight there is 20% DR for 4 seconds. 2, to use the Seal of Darkshire Nobility, you give up the Mechagon Ring combo. Now the Mechagon Ring combo, I know it's a pain to farm, but it's 6 sockets worth of haste gems at a 90% uptime, and you gain 250 crit on the ring. It's actually 247 crit for a 12 of 12 upgrade, and 253 crit for a 304 from your vault. So we'll call it 250 even, but it's a lot. I don't think that's a very good trade-off for 10% DR for 4 seconds. I'm not saying it's a horrible ring. I'm just saying when you compare it to the Mechagon Ring combo, the Mechagon Rings simply provide more value. There are 8 Mechagon Rings in total, but we're really only interested in 2 of them, and I'm going to give you a third as a farming option just in case you don't see the other one. The 2 Activator Rings you want, one is Bis and the runner-up. The Bis one is Logic Loop of Recursion, and the other one is Logic Loop of Division. The effect ring that you'll want is the Overclocking Bitband. So looking at the rings themselves, Logic Loop of Recursion is the 3 abilities ring, and if you use the 3 different abilities on the same target, you will trigger your effect ring. This is the Bis option and the easiest use for activation. A top tier hint from Mandl here is that one of the abilities can be Mind Freeze, and it doesn't even matter if it interrupts anything, so it saves you a GCD and can get you your haste bonus. The runner-up ring for this is the Logic Loop of Division, and this activates by damaging the enemy from behind. And I know what you're thinking, I'm a tank, how do I do that? So it can be activated by standing inside the hitbox of an enemy, and as Asa also educated me, behind a mob in Blizzard's design implement is actually a 270-degree arc. So you can kind of wiggle around as you're fighting mobs, and you'll still manage to actually trigger this. You can also see on the screen with these logs, this is really cool, Shackle the Unworthy will manage to trigger this effect also, and same will Dancing Rune Weapon. Be aware though, Loop of Division is about a 70 to 75% uptime on your haste, which is still fantastic, as opposed to Recursion, which is 90%. So moving on to the weapon slot now. So Gavel versus Jathies versus a haste verse weapon. The war of the weapons, the battle of the gods. Alright, so in my video that covered all 6 tank classes and gave you a rundown on what weapons you would want this season, smooth plug, you'll see that I recommended Gavel on that, and nothing has honestly really changed. However, the discussion wages on. Gavel is a playmaking weapon, and with this, that's a really large consideration to this weapon. A lot of people will talk about boon RNG, but with the crit build, it actually alleviates several issues with some of the boons, as well as making all of them viable. For example, with Boon of the End, you passively become unhittable thanks to the enormous strength buff. With Boon of Winter, the shield will carry a lot of the incoming damage you receive. Boon of Harvested Hope will leech any damage that you take during it, and Boon of Divine Command actually armor caps you during its duration, and it's not unique to this build. The only weaker boon defensively is Boon of Assured Victory, but considering how hard it slaps, you get the 15% base leech from Voracious, it's still okay. The higher our hasted stacks are from the haste bounty, towards the end of the key, the closer the gap does close between a fed Jathies and Gavel. However, it doesn't really get to be a close race until 15 stacks and beyond of the haste bounty. For reference, the majority of the population's keys at the moment are getting to 11 to 12 stacks of the haste bounty. At 12 stacks of the haste bounty, Gavel is still beating out Jathies. And as I mentioned at the start of this comparison, Gavel has the ability to severely impact fights or trash packs. So, you have this ability to destroy really dangerous mobs, really dangerous trash packs. Nuke a boss in its burn phase like Curator or HK8. It's not all about averages, which Gavel still beats Jathies on anyway at that general bounty stack point. Now, as I mentioned, you don't need all of this gear that I've just been through to make this build work. The big thing when thinking about this is unlearning that crit is bad. You still want to focus on your higher item level pieces as we've discussed, but picking up things like the Mecha Rings, Gavel, Mecha Braces, Jailer's Legs, anything that is crit heavy to go towards the goal here is what you want to do. Please remember, 20 to 25% crit is enough. You don't have to be 30% plus and beyond. Now, if we take this TR set here, if we're Night Fae and we're Night Elf, we can actually achieve 90% avoidance on the pull here. Then by the time the Adonized deflectors, the Mechagon Braces fade, we have Death Due Down, Dancing Rune Weapons, stacks, we're at 85% avoidance with just the strength alone. Now here's a video with Meyra with this in action, and you can see in the video that Meyra hits 92% avoidance with 32% base crit rating. So you'll see 84% parry come up on the screen, but then you've got to take the 3% miss into account, the 5% dodge, and boom bam, 92% avoidance. It's worth mentioning because people will, there does come a point where too much crit will be an issue. Eventually you could actually obtain so much parry that you don't get hit at all, which means that CRW becomes useless and your 4-piece won't trigger. So there's a sensible line of balance, and remember the point around this build and this video is more to show the misconceptions around stats like crit, not to condemn others. No one is saying have 0% versatility, etc. Looking at some more evidence-based results, if we take a traditional haste versus Kyrian DK and compare it with a crit-heavy build Kyrian DK on a plus 23 Mana Devourer encounter, you can see the DK on the right, who was running the crit build as Kyrian, had much better control over their HP, given how much they were parrying. This meant that they were practically never taking any physical damage outside of Blood Shield, whilst the DK log on the left is taking magic damage, whilst also having to handle the melee attacks breaking through Blood Shield. It's also worth mentioning that the crit DK on the right side of this had 15 stacks of the Mana Devourer orbs. The crit DK featured in this example isn't in the best gear list provided earlier either. This is just live gear. They've got the Mechagon braces, the ring combo, then without sacrificing any item level, just picked up some crit heavy pieces where possible, gemmed and enchanted critical strike where they could as well. To provide some more evidence around this, here's a plus 25 Gambit log where the DK is hit 0 times in 12 seconds running the crit build. Just think about this for a second. 0 hits, 12 seconds. That is a full necrotic reset right there, or even better, it's just 0 stacks of necrotic. I mentioned earlier about the game rolling to determine what happens to you when you're fighting a mob or mobs. For example, if you're fighting a mob of the same level as you have 20% dodge and 25% parry. The game will roll 1 to 100. If it's 0 to 3, the attack will miss you. If it's 3 to 23, you'll dodge. If it's 23 to 48, you'll parry. And if it's 49 plus, you'll get hit. The idea of this build is to push the combined crit, dodge, and miss so high that you'll become almost unhittable, so that every point of damage you take is either covered by Blood Shield or absorbed by something like reactive defense matrix, or covered by a cooldown as part of a sensible strategy versing tank busters. Now I know there's a lot to process here. I know a lot of you are probably staring at your screen going, so do I go and play Night Fae now? Do I stay as Kyrian? How much crit do I need again? Do I have to go get the Mechagon Rings or braces for this to work? So I'm going to try and summarize it all here towards the end. The basis of all the information that I've gone through today in this video is that no stats are bad for Blood DK. You're still going to take item level over stats. This is just showing that if you can obtain 20 to 25% crit, you'll be able to achieve some crazy parry and avoidance and gain a very decent level of control in keys and see some real impact here. Remember, one of the biggest reasons for item level over stats is that strength is just a bigger deal for parry as crit is. At 28% crit baseline, if you're a Night Fae and Night Elf, 90% avoidance is achievable. If you're not a Night Elf but you're still Night Fae, you can get 88% avoidance. Now, if you want to stay Kyrian, which, outside advanced players I would actually recommend anyway, as it just is an easier form of playstyle for keeping Dancing Rune Weapon up, you will want a little bit more crit, as you won't be gaining as much strength as you would be via the Night Fae option. A huge thank you to Mandl, Meyra, and Asa for explaining so much of this to me like I am a 5-year-old, consistently putting in the work across the community in the background, proving theories, having information to back up what they're saying on reliable models, and then putting that out to the community so we can ensure that you, the players, are getting the right information. If you have any questions around this build whatsoever, hit me up in the YouTube comment section. I will be sure the 3 of them visit and answer any of those questions that you might have that I can't answer. Otherwise, that is it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out the range dungeon guides, tank guides on the channel. Come and find us in the Discord. We're doing a giveaway if you haven't heard. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Thanks, fam.